will do it because it's something to shout about. Very simple.
It's an important issue, it really is.
Michael Heseltine.
I think the point about the exceptional case is important, and I strongly would argue for the status quo. Peter helped me by giving examples of the sort of changes that he had in mind. He mentioned age. Well, we're perfectly prepared to send people out at the age of 18 to kill people in Britain's name all over the world where it's appropriate. And you seriously telling me that they are too young to make a judgment about what is right or wrong? I don't believe that. And if Peter's other point was they need to be educated. Well, who's going to decide who is and who is not educated, or what being educated amounts to? And the moment you start asking these questions, of course, you have to have someone to make the decision. Who makes the decision? People appointed by the party politicians? Some independent group of worthies who've got an intellectual approach to life? You tell me of somebody that you would accept as a reasonable alternative for one ludicrous decision by a jury to ask the question David asked, can we take into account evidence for which there is no fact, no evidence, nothing to base it on, and was never raised in this court? How can you begin to ask a question like that if you are sitting on a jury?
The man up there on the gangway, you sir.
Yeah, I think as soon as you start making it about kind of someone's educational level or their age, then you make it a preserve of a certain strata of society, which I thought was kind of counterproductive to what the whole point was.
Okay, Vince Cable. Of course, I suppose we don't. But the assumption isn't that all 12 jurors wanted to ask this question, but maybe 1 or 2 jurors did, isn't it? And then the rest of the jury thought, well, we can't explain it to you. We better get the judge to explain it to you.
Yeah, I don't think the point's already been made that this was a very odd case in a very unusual trial. And the point is, you are going to get people on juries who are not very bright, you'll get juries that are incompetent, but you get judges that are incompetent, you get prosecutors that are incompetent. That doesn't mean to change the whole system, and I think Giles was right. It is one of the very basic principles of criminal justice in the UK that you have a right to be tried by your peers through a jury. We tamper with it at our peril. In the past, politicians have tried to remove jury trials. A few years ago, it was suggested that the ordinary members of the public are not bright enough to deal with fraud trials. That was, a backward move. I think the jury system is obviously going to have bad cases, but we should preserve the principles. It's a right one, and we should treasure it.
Okay, I'll take one more point, and then we'll move on. From the lady there.
Should we ensure that all jury members can actually speak English and understand English?
I don't think that was the issue with this particular jury.
But that was the question.
No.
I'm saying as the jury on the whole.
This was an exceptional jury, and you shouldn't make I don't think we should make extrapolations about juries. A lady there said that she'd seen jurors falling asleep. I've heard of judges falling asleep. I've heard of barristers that could send you to sleep. I believe that the right to a jury trial by people that look like a cross-section of the wider community is absolutely crucial for people like my constituents continue to have confidence in the criminal justice.
But Diane, it must be right. The question was asked.
But you do have to speak English.
Yeah, it must. It must be right that you have to speak English, or you can't begin to understand the trial.
But that's not an issue. You have to read.
It wasn't named as an issue in this particular case, but there will be cases. And there are cases where some jurors don't have English as their first language and may speak it, but may not fully understand the nuances of some of the stuff that is discussed.
Okay.
And someone in court might have an interpreter, but the jury members don't.
All right.
This is not just an individual case. If you're conscious of what's going on in our courts and pay attention and attend them to report on them, you will see that there is a problem with juries which goes a lot wider than this case. One thing I might say to Michael Heseltine, the very reason why we send young men out as soldiers, often wrongly, is because they are young and unwise and prepared to kill and risk terrible danger in a way that wise people wouldn't. And will that still occur? And will that is true. That is true. And you don't. The truth is not. The truth is not popular, but it is the case. Why do we send young men out to kill, except because of that? And secondly, you might be aware of the fact that there are strong moves now to lower the voting age to 16. How many of you want to have your futures decided by 16-year-olds?
Well, I have to say that as a former Secretary of State for Defence, to describe the British Armed Forces in the language you did is disgraceful.
Well, you always were a very effective demagogue, Heseltine. But I think I haven't described the British Armed Forces in any sense at all. I've simply told the truth.
You described the soldiers in language which was viciously unfair to them.
Young men are unwise. You were unwise when you were young, and so was I. And don't try to deny it or silence me with silly rhetoric of the kind that you were using.
You certainly were unwise because you used to work for the Socialist Worker Party.
I've said nothing uncomplimentary about the armed forces, and you know it perfectly well.
You wait till you see the transcript.
How dare you suggest that I have?
You wait till you see the transcript.
Jury trials.
But just to clarify, perhaps you'd say what you said about 18-year-olds once more.
That they are we cynical politicians send young men out to kill and be killed. That's what I said.
No, it's not what you said.
It is what I said.
You said they were stupid.
I said no such thing.
Well, we'll see
check the recording.
We'll see the record.
Well, we can't check. Yes, you said. And then we must go on.
I'm 18. I'm joining the armed forces next year. I think I can make an educated decision, much more than some people who are older than me, perhaps. I might not be mature than other people, but I'm still mature enough to decide on what I want to do, and also to be on a jury if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.